Hanunice and Rafa, the names alone now conjure images of utter devastation. Over 51,000 Palestinians have lost their lives, and among them, a journalist and her young son. Think about that for a second. A storyteller cut down alongside her child in their own home. It's not just numbers. These are people, lives intertwined with stories we'll never hear now.
Yeah, and by all accounts, neither one of them had anything close to being a military combatant. No missile systems, no hard targets, no resistance fighters, just civilians. When you're running military operations, collateral damage happens. Sure, but this...
And this isn't just collateral damage, it's something much darker. Rescue teams are combing through rubble, pulling bodies, piece by piece. And the homes in Rafah? The reports say over 90% are gone. Just gone. Flattened in preparation for the Morag corridor. How does anyone come back from that?
You don't. Not unless the world steps in. I mean, when whole regions get isolated, like Rafah is from the rest of Gaza, you're looking at a recipe for generational disaster. Basic survival becomes a daily fight. And trust me, it's civilians, not fighters, get hit the hardest.
Exactly. Civilians. Kids who should be worrying about school are worried about whether the next strike is going to wipe out their family. And parents trying to keep everyone alive with no food, no clean water, no medicine. I've seen this before in another crisis.
Yeah, go on.
It was in Aleppo. Same sense of hopelessness. I spoke to this nurse. It was her neighbour's house hit, not hers. She said she walked through the rubble for days, looking for survivors. She kept saying, "We're expected to live with this." That line haunted me. And now it's Gaza's turn to carry the same unbearable weight.
It's the eternal fight, people caught in the middle, between power plays and strategy. And yeah, I know Hamas is the target here, but war zones don't care what side you're on when it comes to airstrikes. That's the reality in the field.
But that reality, Duke, doesn't have to be inevitable. Humanity has a choice. We must choose to protect people, to listen to their cries for help instead of justifying endless destruction. I keep thinking about that boy, that journalist's son. What did he ever do to deserve this?
Nothing. It's always the innocent paying the price. That's the ugly truth of it all.
And yet, Duke, there were glimmers, fleeting moments where we chose humanity. During those rare ceasefires, aid was able to flow in. Hostages were released, and for just a moment, food, medicine, even clean water made it through. But then the ceasefires collapse, and everything crumbles again. Gaza is suffocating under the weight of it all.
Which isn't really surprising. Ceasefires only work as long as both sides see them as worth keeping. When one sees a chance to press the advantage, boom, back to square one. It's like trying to patch a dam with duct tape.
But isn't the whole point of international law to prevent exactly that? The Fourth Geneva Convention, it's clear. The occupying power has a duty, ensuring food, medical supplies, maintaining public health. It's all written in black and white. Yet, here we are. The Secretary-General said it outright. None of that is happening today.
True, but let's be real. Laws don't enforce themselves. When the stakes are this high, the players involved, both sides, mind you, they're not looking to play by the rules. They're looking to win. That's the cold, hard truth of conflict.
And for the people on the ground? The mothers dragging their kids to makeshift clinics? The children clinging to life because they can't get enough to eat? Laws are supposed to mean something, Duke. That's why they exist. Otherwise, what's the point?
Well, that's where the rubber meets the road, right? Military objectives versus morality. You want to protect civilians, sure, but when you're targeting enemy infrastructure, those lines blur fast. And yeah, it's ugly. Messy even. But that's the truth in the field.
But the field doesn't have to be this way. International law was designed to prevent these atrocities. If you don't uphold it, it crumbles, and the cost is always borne by the innocent. Blockades, strikes, displacement, none of them justify ignoring those obligations.
Look, I'm not disagreeing with you, but you've got to ask, how do you enforce those obligations in a hostile environment where both sides have gone nuclear on trust? No one's going to bend without a strong hand forcing them to the table.
And that strong hand should be humanity, Duke, the collective voice of an international community demanding more than empty rhetoric. Ceasefires can work. We've seen it. But only if there's accountability tied to those agreements. Duke, speaking of accountability, the international reactions to Gaza highlight just how critical it is. The United Nations and the European Union are pushing hard, calling for independent investigations and labelling airstrikes on hospitals and homes as blatant violations of international law.
And on the other hand, there's the U.S., standing firm on Israel's right to defend itself, a line that hasn't wavered even with civilian casualties climbing by the thousands. It's walking a tightrope, right?
But how tight can that rope get before it snaps? Accountability. It's supposed to be a cornerstone of international law. When humanitarians are killed or when hospitals are bombed, there's supposed to be repercussions, yet the system feels toothless.
Well, that's just it. The system only has teeth if countries are willing to bite. I mean, independent investigations sound nice on paper, but enforcing findings, that's a whole other battle. What do you think it'll take to get real accountability here?
It's going to take the international community standing united. And I don't mean just in press statements. Tangible action, Duke. Sanctions, tribunals, freezing assets if necessary. Look at previous war crimes tribunals. They were slow, yes, but they sent a message. This has to be more than a temporary outrage.
Yeah, but you've got to be realistic. When regional stability is at stake, action doesn't come easy, especially when there's a fear that it'll escalate the conflict or destabilize neighboring countries. The Middle East doesn't need more powder kegs.
That's the conundrum, though, isn't it? Do nothing, and we risk permanence. Permanent displacement, permanent destruction, permanent loss of trust in international law. Do something, and the risk of immediate fallout looms large. Where do we draw the line?
It's a matter of strategy. You don't go charging in without an exit plan, and right now, I don't see one. What I do see are ripple effects. This conflict's already spilling over, politically, economically, even militarily. What happens if the West Bank gets dragged in deeper?
Or Lebanon. The dominoes are already wobbling, and every failed ceasefire just pushes them closer to the edge. And yet, there's this persistent hope. People on the ground are still clinging to it despite everything. I met a mother once, a survivor from Rwanda. She said hope gets you through until the rest of the world catches up. I think about her a lot these days.
Hope's a hell of a thing, but you can't just lean on it. You need leaders willing to step up, to enforce those Geneva Conventions, to hold every single actor accountable. And yeah, that includes Hamas too. Their tactics aren't exactly squeaky clean here either.
Agreed. Accountability isn't about sides. It's about humanity, because without it, we just perpetuate cycles of suffering. And Duke, I have to believe that humanity's better than that. We've got to be.
It's a hard road ahead, May. But yeah, maybe humanity's got one more fight in it. The kind that doesn't need guns or airstrikes. Let's hope the world wakes up to that before it's too late.
And that's all for today. If these stories have touched you as much as they've moved us, keep them alive. Talk about them, share them, and let's keep pushing for a world that chooses humanity over conflict. Until next time, take care.